still here?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So the Black Airbender and Tao Lore, we back at it again.
Yeah. Let's do it for the third one.
It's funny, the third one. You know, after you send me 3:30 or whatever, I was riding on my way back, and I saw a car. It said 33824. I was like, uh-oh, there it is. Again, every day. Every day. Have you noticed the more you did breath work, the more synchronicity starts to happen?
Yeah, it got so absurd at one point. Like, I didn't want to turn into, not Rain Man. What was that one with Russell Crowe? Beautiful Mind?
Oh, Beautiful Mind, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was where, like, because at one point I just was, like, doing gematria on everything and, like, reducing. I was reducing everything. Like, I wasn't even looking at words. As words. I just saw them for what their numbers were, like numerology reduced to the single number. And it can make you neurotic, I feel like, if you really get anal about it, you know what I mean? I don't know, but I feel like, yeah, definitely the more I did breath work, the more I saw the synchronicities. It just became slaps in the face.
Yeah, you just can't get around it. I had one client did it for 5 hours for the first time, and he been messaging me like, look, 333 everywhere, 222 everywhere. I was like, that's magnetism for you, law of attraction. It starts with the breath, it'll end with the breath.
Yeah.
So I like how you were talking about reducing, and that's what I want to talk about first. We'll get into that. The fall of man. I want to start there. The fall of man. How did we get to this point? How did mankind start falling?
Man, that's such a great like broad subject. It gets for me it's like the same things, but I guess a bunch of stories explain it, and I don't know which ones is like chronologically correct or whatever, but it's the same story.
Well, we can start with Adam and Eve and the quote unquote serpent. If many people don't realize by now, the serpent is really your intestines. We can start from there. Well, what's your take on it in terms of just the perception of the fall of man in that sense? Adam and Eve.
Yeah, I mean, reptile brainstem, lower brain. Yeah, I mean, it's so many ways to look at it. It's so kaleidoscopic, man. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things, read a lot of different things about Adam and Eve. I've read of them being spoken of in plurality in the Bible and in the Quran, is that they're groups of people. You know, of course, it's like a Tum Egyptian or Kemetic connection with Atum, but it's so many things I've heard about this thing. Like Adham is coming from Edom or sons of Edom, and that Adam and Eve are, you know, the groups of albinos that were created from Yaqub, because Yaqub changed his name to Israel and then created the tribes of Israel, and that he, like, through a grafting process, created these tribes and played with the fabric of humanity. And that, you know, it's like a loosely put together theory that a lot of people, I feel like, allude to as far as like the dilution and the control, like, of the flocks, changing the colors of the flocks and everything like that in the Bible. I think you could look at it like that, like, because even if it is astrological or scripture, it's going to get embodied some way, somehow, because art depicts life and life depicts art. So I feel like there's some truth to every one of the stories as far as explaining the fall. I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like they're all going to revolve around the same things, though, which would be like pride and all the other versions of pride, the other 7 deadly sins or 6 other sins. I feel like they're all just pride at a different angle.
I like how you put it that way, and I like how you but bring up different angles of looking at it. So I was just thinking today, it just dawned on me a little bit in terms of the fall of man. It just kept popping up in my head that the ideology of separation is part of the disease. You know, Albert Einstein literally said racism is a disease. And you look at his diet, he was a vegetarian. So if he understood that, inflammation creates imbalance in the body, thus it may create imbalance in the mind as well. So when I looked at that, it just made more sense in terms of the fall of men and how powerful fasting can truly change the world. I don't think veganism may be the truest answer. I think fasting in itself, because you can introduce fasting to any type of diet, whether they be on the meat diet or whatever. If they just fast in general, and less, as we know, on our journeys, because we're definitely similar. People keep saying that in a way, but as we come to the terms that less is really, really more, and when you have less in the body and the blood is flowing a certain way with the breath and everything is in harmony, everything can flow and attract more, and you really need less, and you're just living in the state of abundance in terms of mind state. So if one is in the state of abundance and in harmony with their inner being, their external perception of the world is harmonious, because the dog's like, she's speaking the truth. Yeah, so when your internal world is in harmony, your perception of your exterior is it's in a harmonious being. Because if you're in quote unquote dis-ease, you want to move around, you want to fidget, you want to create some disimbalance. You're embodying disembalancement, and with that being said, that leads to different perceptions of anger. Thus can lead into what many would see in this world as quote unquote chaos. And that's my whole take on it in terms of the disease that is quote unquote separation, because that is one of the biggest diseases of all.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, again, the allegories I feel like are the same. And like you were saying about Einstein too, like E equals MC squared, and energy equals matter, and we're made of atoms, and atoms power themselves, and another the atom connection. It really is a wild thing, man. How things go, and how things are really perfect in their own right. As far as people being sick and stuff like that, because ultimately, I guess we come from chaos. We come from infinity, which is kind of like, it's harmony in a sense, but like it's not as like, I guess you could say like quantified or encapsulated as like the dense physical reality, which I guess is really the smallest part of reality, as the smallest scope. So at some level, being infinity and not being bound by anything is kind of chaos in a sense. And so like when things get chaotic for one reason or another on any level, it probably is just like that glimpse of where everything comes from, kind of reshuffling the deck to get it back into harmony, to get it back into peace or whatever, to have a more gentle equilibrium.
And what's your take on, pushing either veganism or fasting in itself?
Man, yeah, all the food is fake. It's just like, I guess, it's entertainment, really. Whatever you want to do for entertainment, long as I feel like once you realize that it's entertainment, it's a lot better. You can indulge from a different place. If you do breath work for 2 straight weeks, your diet for like an hour a day for like 5 to 14 days for an hour a day before food or water in the morning, I think it's no way that you won't change your diet and shift your diet. So it's like automatic. Like you pretty much, once your breath catches you, it's pretty much like, okay, the reduction has begun, and I'm going to, how peacefully and gracefully do I want to reduce? Do I want to go through intense sicknesses to push me to that threshold to change, or do I kind of want to meet the process at the middle and definitely fast more? Because that's like the fast forward button, and like veganism and all that is kind of just like a way to stay entertained and like not shock your body too much as you transition into the other stages. Like, I think it's more like that, just the entertainment part. Like, people really are entertained by food so much that when you kind of like change their diet, especially if you're talking about like breatharians, they need entertainment because it's just, there's a massive void that they're not used to being. You know, they're used to filling that void. So it's like, it's kind of like a female that's had like consistent sex. It's just that, you know, you got to wait for that to, you know, to shrink back down. Same thing with food, the stomach and everything. It all has to like shrink back down to where you can, you know, it's got to heal. And so people, I feel like they, through that process of shrinkage, you know, they're going to always, a lot of people just relapse and stuff. So it's a vicious cycle. It's such a neurotic cycle, man. Like, as far as eating consistently, it's such a psychosis thing. Because, like, people just live so much in their heads, and I don't know if it's because the Wi-Fi or the, you know, all the other radiation. I don't know if that's what it is. Because, like, your body, because, you know what I mean? Your body's pretty much like, nah, I don't want nothing, no more. No, I'm good. And I you know, you can just see people like, just whatever. I don't care about that signal. Like, it's just, it's wild how the disconnect, the separation is there. Yeah, like valuing your tongue over your organs is separation. It's slavery. You know, that's how slavery is kind of starting. Is like enslaving the organs to the tongue, or enslaving your heart to your eyes. Like, if the female or the significant other is pretty, but you don't really have a connection with them, it's like you enslaving all these other parts for this one part. And I feel like that's kind of how slavery develops from the inside out. You know, people that want to enslave, or they choose to enslave parts of their body for sensory satisfaction, and then it just creates shit like Spaniards going around the world looking for salt and sugar mines, and you know what I mean? Like, it just expands because, you know, I guess obvious reason.
That dog just came over, but yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's no coincidence when you see fruitarians that's been fruitarians for over 5 plus 6 years, 10 years, how darker their skin become, and they're just absorbing more of the sun, and they find themselves eating less of the fruit, and slowly, gradually, getting to the truth of it all, monomeal, and then they find themselves just naturally doing the liquids. So
yeah, I think it's inevitable if you listen to your body at all. But if you're like caught in logic about it, I think it's going to always be a conflicting thing.
Right.
Because at some level it has to be like intuitive from the body, where you're getting like a message from the body, where some people be like, no, I need this many calories or this or whatever. And that logic just overrides all the actual sensation.
Right. It's like for me, like last thing was banana milk, right? I knew how for a certain time banana milk became over redundant, and when I moved over here in Miami, the coconut water was soothing, and then I just stopped the banana milk. Like, I already knew I didn't need that heavy of a liquid to digest or whatever. The coconut water is more for like flushing, and in that sense, I did a hydro colonic the other day, and when I did it, she noticed I had air pockets in my stomach, in my intestines, and I didn't even tell her I was on liquids for over 300 plus days at all. I just told her I just did a lot of breath work. And she goes like, it's like you're eating air. I was like, okay. That was like a confirmation right there. And from there, like you were saying, intuitively, it just makes sense. Like, the more you breathe, the more you feel as well. And the more one can feel, again, it's the inevitable, like you were saying. It goes right back to the inevitable.
Yeah. It's really the greatest compass, man. I don't see I don't see how anything else can really like match that compass. I mean, logic is cool, but it's the product of the breath. Emotion is cool, but it's like a product of logic in a sense. So it's, I don't know why people ever stop before they get to the epicenter of things. It's really basic, but I don't know. I guess it's not easy from a position of living hard.
You know, when you look at the tablets and you look at ancient Egypt on the walls, you literally see a light bulb. You see all these beautiful creations that Egypt, Ethiopia, Africa, ancient Africa, literally created. You think they just got bored of having so much energy and living in abundance? Like, what do you think it is?
Like, why did Kemet and all that fall?
Yeah, why did all that fall? What do you think?
Man, I think consciousness probably comes in seasons, man, and you can't expect it to be like a critical mass of intelligent beings all the time. And it's probably part of the challenge, I guess, when you have a larger mass of people that are unaware. It's kind of like, I guess, a greater challenge for this overall experience. But I feel like, yeah, it's the same things as far as like the mechanical collapse of it. I feel like it's the same things that caused it, like, you know, pride, envy, greed, jealousy, lust. I feel like it's the same thing, man. Like, I really do. I mean, I feel like every character in the Bible is black, you know, really, except for Esau, I guess. But everybody's black except for Esau. And so that would mean, like, you know, you have like King David, he's black. And this guy. If anybody's listening and they want to refute this, you can literally go look at Haile Selassie. He's literally one of the last bloodlines of King Solomon. And clearly he's black, so there you go. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so King David, he wanted to bang this dude's wife, so he sent her husband off to war to get killed in the Bible, in the First Testament, and, you know, so he could bang his wife. So, like, and then Solomon was doing a hella witchcraft. Like, I just feel like it was all kind of, and it's all, I don't know, to me it's all like really kind of there. Like, people were behaving from a crazy place at some level. Those things got infected, you know, like people let the parasite in somehow. Like, they say vampires can't come in unless you let them in. And like, I always look at it like, man, if everything really was like that and we still ended up like this anyway, it's still like a process of like making it better throughout the human experience. I guess continually like making it better, longer, peace on earth, I guess, and then it collapses again, and then you just like sandcastles, I guess, because we were there. If humans were there, and it fell to this, then you just got to make it better than what it was. And it's possible because the ingredients they're here, so it's like yeah. I think it's the same. But then a lot of people say Moses did it, man. I've always heard that Moses got hateful, and he's from Egypt, you know what I mean? And, you know, Jesus left from 12 to like 30. Nobody knew where he was. He probably was just learning from Kemetic. And like, I don't know, Moses being from Egypt, I feel like, you know, that being the beginning of the Bible with Moses, the books about Moses, like, a lot of people say that Moses was the one that gave the, I guess, like, I don't know if you want to call it technology or knowledge, like the reverse knowledge, just like how to destroy the different groups of people, whether it was Greeks, Romans, Persians, Arabs, you know, Ottomans or whatever. Like it was, you know, they were basically like his troops under different names, or like his like energy, like he spiritually. I've heard that, you know what I mean, that he wanted Egypt, so he took it in those ways over time. I don't know. That's what I've heard, man.
So they said his staff was quote unquote activated, and activated literally had crystals in there and different types of technology in terms of a Fibonacci sequence, however you want to go deep into that. But the thing about when you said Moses, going back to the whole separation concept, he literally quote unquote split he literally split the sea, right? So that in itself could be looked as maybe he didn't physically split the Red Sea. Maybe he literally, you know, created more separation than needed to be in that context. So when you look at that, it just clicks. It's clicking right now.
I mean, it's kind of like separation from God. Pretty much comes from like housing lies, and lies are ultimately going to come from pride, like of having this ability to be able to lie to yourself. It's kind of like pride's kind of like a cover emotion for fear, ultimately, I guess. But hubris or pride is pretty much like, I'm gonna lie to myself, like I have this ability to, like it's possible, and then like now I'm housing this lie, and the more I house lies, then the less God can live in my body, and so I feel like that's kind of like the separation thing is coming from pride, ultimately, like in that way, like people saying like, you know, doing the little mental gymnastics every day throughout the day, saying things in their head like just justifying indulgence in the things that kill them. It's pretty much, that's pride to me. I don't know what else to call that. It's pride and fear of getting better. And I think that's what ultimately is creating the separation inside of people, whether it be like food separating the walls of your intestines or your other organs, or smoke creating mucus, so separation in the lungs. I feel like all the separation is coming from this lie of pride. Like it's like the ultimate lust that you can lie, and then like that's all. I feel like that's what creates the mechanical separation from that metaphysical separation, I guess, where you feel like separate from God, and that you can create a space where you lie. And I just feel like it only just grows the more you like water that plant.
I have the saying that the devil is a lie, the breath is the truth, and you know that even ties all the way to quote unquote breath language and that whole concept. You know, the breath wasn't born, it wasn't conceived. It just is eternal. And if we can look at the characteristics of the breath, separation in itself is far from what the breath really is, because the breath really feeds all. It's more in unison than separation.
Yeah, I always say like the distance that is restricted from you, that you can't breathe with, like whether it's the smoke blocking the expansion or food blocking the expansion, the distance that you can't expand is pretty much the distance from the alignment with God, I feel like. And the breath itself, like, you know, when you get more into it, the more you get into the rhythm of things, it all becomes like one motion. The inhale and the exhale is all kind of one thing. So it's like there's no separation in and out with it the more you get in alignment with it.
Yeah, I've been practicing a little bit of breath hymns. Breath hymns is just when you're inhaling with the nose and the mouth at the same time, and it's just a different resonance to the body.
Getting acid and alkaline breath at the same time.
At the same time, and that's, you know, it's funny you literally said that, because when you look at Jesus is technically a breath hymn. If you look at the real ancient schools back then, they would literally convey that Jesus was a breath hymn, Yahweh was a breath hymn, and in terms of Jesus, it would literally sound like when you inhale with the nose and the mouth at the same time, it literally sounds like you're saying Jesus. If it's like a true deep inhale, it literally sounds like Jesus. And going back to what you said in terms of alignment, it takes a real deep breath to really get that resonance. And the more you go into it, it literally sounds like you're chanting Jesus and Jesus and Jesus. Like after like an hour, it literally sounds like you're literally chanting. It literally sounds like you're chanting Jesus. And that's just like a normal inhale and exhale, like with both nose and mouth at the same time. And then over an hour, it literally sounds like you're saying Jesus. So going back in terms of alignment, what you were saying, it just resonates with me heavy, because that totally makes sense. It really makes sense in terms of the distance. You know, the breath is infinite potential. The breath is literally infinite potential.
Yeah, I feel like since babies are in alignment with it, that probably a lot of that Gugu and Gagan is probably ancient language coming through with no, there's no vowels. So it's just people,
Hey, we can get into that too. Scientists are literally saying that's literally a language. It's literally a language, and they're trying to decode that language. And they're literally close to source. They literally just came into this world, and they're housing the spirit like fresh. So you'd think it literally even sounds like they're speaking in tongues, if you will.
Yeah, I mean they're fresh from the ether.
It's literally fresh from the ether.
Yeah, they're definitely. I don't see how it's just the same. I guess at that point when you're in that perspective, it's like it's just all a dream. Everything is a dream. It's so lucid at that point that it's just all. It's just all just presence, I guess, in different ways. But they definitely are hot off the presses, man. I don't know, man. It's a dope thing. Well, the Jesus thing too. Like John the Baptist says, he's like, I baptize with water. The one whose sandals I can't wear baptizes with the Spirit. So
Jesus with the breath.
Yeah, Jesus said, because people were talking about eating. They're like, our fathers ate manna to survive and fast or whatever, and Jesus was like, your fathers ate manna and died. If you eat from the bread of life, you live forever. And I just feel like bread is breath throughout the Bible. But
Click, 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 click. Man, I haven't heard Bible references in a while, so it's good to touch back on this topic. The Bible is an interesting, the basic instructions before leaving Earth, as they would say.
Yeah, shout out to Wu-Tang.
Yeah, man. So, going back into separation and, the things that we create to create more stress on ourselves, that's one of mankind's biggest enemies, stress. Stress in all different forms. I noticed my stress level went dramatically down when I finally gave up the sandals. I gave up playing basketball. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk to you about. That giving up, playing basketball. I don't know I think last time I saw your channel, it's been a while, but then I saw you play basketball a little while, but you weren't playing in like a group or whatever. So what's your take on there's different subtleties, but I want to let you go first in terms of your perception of that. But I found myself I was literally walking past the basketball court, and I was just walking barefoot. I'm like, I wonder what it feels like to just play 5-on-5 barefoot. And then in my head, I'm like, what's the point? And it's like, playing with other people that I barely even know. That's one. And it just doesn't feel like it's growth in that sense. You know what I mean, psychologically speaking, because, once you're aware of different forms of parasites, the less you want to interact with certain people in that. And I'm not trying to degrade anybody, but you get what I mean, in terms of energy. I always say this, no one is better than anyone. Everyone is just radiating at different frequencies. And there your dog is saying he's speaking the truth. There he goes.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like, sometimes I forget that stressed and desserts is the same letters. But because you say stress or whatever, I was just like, man, that's right. Stress is desserts backwards. But with basketball, man, I mean, I like to play on the hardwood if possible, just because of the joint issue and the back issue.
Right.
But it's just a lot of pounding. But like, it's never been the same. When I played in high school and in college, it was more. I mean, high school, I should say. College is still a business, but like playing sports in college was really the beginning of this being a business and no longer like it's more quantified and not for like enjoyment really. Like when it was high school ball and playing with the guys that I played high school ball with, like now I haven't in a while, maybe been like almost since last summer since I played with people that I grew up with. But I just feel like playing with them or, just those times in general when we were playing and developing, I feel like it was really great then. It was a lot more organic. It was it was just the best choice at the time. It was really the best thing to do at the time as far as like the scope that I had at the time. And I feel like I developed a lot of dope friendships from it, and I kind of saw the cycles of it because everywhere's the same. So you could like go play ball somewhere else in the world, in another country, or you know what I mean. You kind of just run into the same archetypes. You know, go to another part of the country. You know, go especially in America. It's pretty much the same everywhere. You know, you can run into a certain body type or whatever, and pretty much know like this is how this dude's gonna act. You know what I mean? He gets chicks like this. It's whatever. You know what I mean? It's really that simple. You know what I mean? Because basketball is so, to me, it's a lot more intimate than other sports because, you know, it's,
your skin is touching, but you can continue. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's you really get to know each other. Like you're really moving rhythmically with other people, and so to like go to the courts now and I try to just start a five. It's just I'd rather just shoot around and get a couple hundred jumpers in and enjoy it, listen to music maybe, and just you know enjoy it. I feel like I get better cardio doing that than playing with people sometimes. Like just chasing it. If I do miss, I'm gonna chase it. Then I'm running as fast. I just feel like I can get more shots off and more cardio, and I can enjoy it. And I feel like then it's just not really measured. But if I play and I'm playing with people, then I gotta you playing to win if you play at all, and it just I don't know. I guess it's, in some ways, since it's so personal, you can create enemies just as fast as you can create friends with something like that. So. I don't know. I've been playing basketball with people much in the last few years of my life. Really since 2016, I've been playing less and less with people. But it really
Have you found yourself whenever you play a pickup game, as I got older and more conscious in that sense of my awareness and stuff like that, you tend to just want to be the quiet guy on the court and just let the game do the talking. Have you found yourself in that situation?
Yeah, there's no way I can be rah-rah, especially now, with football I was more of a vocal leader than ever. With basketball in high school, I was kind of the same way. Like with basketball in general, I guess since it's so personal and it doesn't really make sense to talk shit unless you really know that you're on top of your game. And I feel like I was more on top of my game competitively for football than basketball. So I never really talked shit, you know what I mean? Even though I was like naturally good at basketball, football, I feel like since I was good at basketball, I was great at football. It was like easy. So like I could go into football and talk shit and be rah-rah. Because it just felt like, all right, well, I'm confident. It doesn't really matter. None of you dudes is as good as me on the court. So I feel like it really does. It's like a superior game in a lot of ways. And I don't know. I feel like I can't even. I've respected it a lot, and I don't know. I don't really like to just talk shit. You know what I mean? Unless it's like other people you can talk shit with to make each other better.
Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah.
If they're gonna get like really upset about it, then it's like somebody could die. People die over basketball games probably like. Yep. Every day in the summer in America, somebody probably gets killed over a basketball game.
Man.
Or at one.
Yeah. So it's just unnecessary stress when it we're all getting a good cardio workout. The end of the day, the goal is just to put the ball in the basket. Really, it doesn't have to be any more than that. People make it. People just add on that unnecessary stress than it needs to be for no reason, for no apparent reason.
People are stylish, man.
Yeah. And I just had fun with it. I would say a couple months ago, maybe the start of January in there. I just wanted to try it out for a while because it's been 6 months before January that I've been playing or whatever. And I finally got on the court, played indoors a little bit, and I was just doing breath work while I was, get a certain rhythm of breath just to try it out because I would have certain sports clients or whatever, so I would like test out the waters, like me actually doing it. And you find yourself, as I was breathing a certain way, you see other players just panting, and you see little things that tick them off for no apparent reason, and you're like, you can't just help but wonder, like, this man needs an exercise. He really needs to stay on the court and exercise whatever he got in there. And all these things start racing in my mind, and it's like, do I really need to be around this? That I just started pondering in my head a little bit, and then I started straying away from finding myself on the court with people in that sense. But yeah, it's just I find it a lot more fun just playing by yourself, as you were saying. You've got your own pace. That's one. You don't have to hear unnecessary yelling and unnecessary stress. In that sense, you can still have fun with the sports world and still radiate at a certain level. But I even found myself, even while I was playing, there'd be certain times where there'd be a negative instance happen within the game, and I'm looking at that. I'm like, yeah, I can actually turn this into a positive, and then at that point it becomes a mind game as well, and at that point it becomes literally like chess, because you know how to push certain buttons, you know how to. I was just literally playing with the breath, breathing a certain way. When I noticed like people were panting even more, I just slowed my breath down, and then I would have more energy to either get more rebounds and different types of things. And then the breath just makes life play. It really does. And people need to be more aware of whenever they're in the panic state, whether it be sports and in that instance, because a lot of things that in terms of the unseen can happen, and people need to take responsibility of their own shit, really. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I look at back when hindsight 2020, looking at any mistake that I made in athletics along the way, it was always because my movements weren't in rhythm with my breath. Every time. Either I was too shallow or too, trying to move too much and my breath is too deep, or my breath's not, it's like whenever my breath became in alignment with my movements, I just went unconscious and had good games. But if the breath is like you're not getting in rhythm with the breath, then you constantly thinking, and then your body is like in a delay, and then you just don't react the way you would.
It reminds me of, I can't bring the verse to my head right now, but in terms of having no mind, I would just let him experience the doubt. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if you're gonna say like Hua Jing 20 when he says like the telekinesis or telepathic and the telekinetic, like they only have power in a realm of duality, and they can't connect with the person that has achieved no mind. I think maybe that's, I don't know.
I think I'm mixing two verses together, but that gets to my point.
Yeah. It really is that simple. You kind of don't. I guess you don't want that traffic, but it does flow through a lot better when you're just on top of the breath. But it is extremely taxing. As soon as you go into the grid, it's extremely taxing. Like, it's not like the worst, but you can see how it precipitates and how it builds up, especially if you were there for days. Like, whenever I leave from off the mountain and go into the grid where there's 5G towers and there's more electrical towers and everything, everything, I can feel everything shift gradually, and like coming back up to the mountain, I feel like when Goku was trying to go up that path or whatever, it just felt like, I don't know, it just feels like a total difference in like it's how much you're getting taxed. I guess that's the only way I can look at it. It's like you're going, like moving like in water, like trying to run in water. That's what it feels like being on the grid, kind of like. And then when I come back up here, it just feels like everything's just more complete, man. Everything is just so broken down in the grid. Like like things are just, it really violates the senses, and we don't really realize it. Like whether it's like, you know what I mean? Whether it's like just the architecture violating the way you're seeing it, but it don't consciously bother you, but it's really like bothersome to your being because it's not a complete structure. It's not like a tree that's like, you know what I mean? It's got its curves to it and its rigidity and everything. It's this like rigid structure, and you know, then you got all the other things, I guess, that violate your senses, whether it's the sounds and. Nah, man, I think I've seen maybe like a piece of one episode, man. My friend told me to watch it, though. I need to check it out. It's a new one, right?
So, yeah, it's a new one. So, I don't want to ruin it too much, but do you mind me ruining it a little bit?
Oh, that's fine. It's cartoons, man.
Yeah, yeah. So, what you were saying, so in a Tournament of Power, you know, where Goku, you probably heard of Ultra Instinct, where he achieves Ultra Instinct, and in that Tournament of Power, if you look at, it's so funny how Toriyama. That's why I love anime. I love watching anime instead of the normal things, because in anime, you have writers, you know, putting a little bit of spiritual stuff in there from time to time. It's their way of free speech, because Japan has its ups and downs in that sense. Let's not get too much. That'd probably be another topic, but but going back to the Tournament of Power, within the Tournament of Power, time is moving slow, and you have all the gods literally, you know, watching from a spectacle all the different universes, all their best fighters, right? And when you have all these factors, time is moving slow, and then, you know, Goku gets to the breaking point where he achieves Ultra Instinct to the point of death in that sense. And by the time you see how he gets Ultra Instinct, you realize he's literally just letting go, and it's flowing within everything. And in that battle of Ultra Instinct, you literally see time is moving down slow. And it just reminds me of going back to the breath in that sense. And the more you're in tune with the breath, the more, you know, when they leave Tournament of Power, everything goes back to normal. In the normal world, time is moving fast, because, you know, people are broadcast. People going again. People are literally walking antennas, and they're just broadcasting different signals. Not just the 5G towers, but people are broadcasting different signals, even with the parasites within their bodies, and they're just broadcasting that. And you notice it dramatically, you know, after a good few sessions of breath work, and you just go into the quote unquote matrix, and you just feel the density. It's just like I was telling you with the light situation. Whenever I go into fluorescent light, I can feel that. I'm at the point where I can really, really feel it. And you just notice it, and it, in a sense too, you just feel part of my conscious feels sad, a little bit of sadness for mankind, in that sense that they don't value the power of the breath, and, you know, these different things, these different subtleties that could, you know, really, really shape mankind as a whole. And we're just blessed to just be on this path. But not everyone makes it to heaven, quote unquote. And when I perceive heaven and hell, I literally perceive the nose is heaven, the mouth is hell. So that goes to show you, and to question when people are in that paradigm, where are you truly living?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does all just like get shown the more that you do the breath accepting. It all becomes really obvious. I don't know really what to add, you know what I mean, to that.
Well, the breath accepting, you want to go into, I guess we can actually end it there, but in terms of, maybe we can add breath accepting. Let's add marijuana in that sense. You know, polluting, you know, the sacred space that is the lungs. And that's what hit me to really stop. You know, this is my life source. Why should I pollute it? That was a big question that really pondered me and pushed me to stop. But are you familiar that with the concept, any herb that is heated to a certain degree releases certain toxins?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a conflict of interest to smoke and be pro breath, but yeah, I've heard Dr. Africa say the specific chemical that does get created. I think he says like synthetic CVP or something like that. Probably just like cannabinoid something. But I guess that's what gets created. That's what people get addicted to. It's not the cannabis. They're getting addicted to the carcinogens that get created and the chemicals that get created, and then the chemicals your body releases to deal with those chemicals. So it's like, I guess it's just really just perspective. People gotta, get off it enough to see like, whoa, I'm really just damaging this area of my body or, my being, whatever. And I feel like it's that simple. I think people just lack perspective, man. I don't feel like there's ever any lack, but a lot of people do lack perspective. I don't know if it's because they ignore it or if it's just because it's not in their environment and they have to like create the perspective. But I feel like you do have to create the perspective. Now I think about it. As far as the people that's around me, they all drank and smoked. Especially, growing up, it was people just drinking and smoking around me. So I had no idea. I guess it was a nice pattern because it was like, okay, I don't want to do that. So how do I do something else? And then like every day kind of became a challenge of that in a sense, really, like to like break that deteriorating cycle there. And sometimes you just got to create your own contrast. Like, I don't think it's always going to be an external example of it. It's just something that you have, inside you, and like, this is, if I maybe tweak the ingredients here, then this is going to be a different experience. And then I can see from a different perspective. I can see from more of a bird's eye view, I guess, of what I was going through. But if I stay in this ingredient cycle, then I'll only get worse and worse, and the vision will get lower and lower, and then there's no vision. Crazy.
There you go. And when the lungs is polluted, the lungs can't see the vision that is the true breath in that sense. So there you go. I want to end it off there because that sounded pretty dope.
All right. Word, man. Yeah, I think that's smooth.
Word. Well, I thank you for sharing the breath, Taylor. Have a wonderful day. I'll hit you up later.
All right, bro. You too, man.